and welcome back to You Up For More. I'm Jordana.
And I'm Jared. We are here late at night. As we are taping this immediately after the Love is Blind reunion. We're getting our initial immediate reactions and thoughts, and we're going to go through, recap the whole episode. Jordana, how did you feel? Top line, what is your takeaway from the Love is Blind reunion?
Top line, I felt there was some meat in there. There's definitely a lot of stuff for us to talk through. There's definitely a lot to go through. I don't know why they insist on throwing like an extra 15 minutes of shit that no one wants to see on there. It's so
I don't
awkward.
know who it's for. I don't know. I know that they want to build a universe, like even just the touches with
so
AD,
unnatural.
Zach and Bliss and their baby. It feels underproduced, weirdly. Like,
I thought it was live for a second. Like in the halfway through, I was like, "Is this live?" Because there's so many awkward jokes that don't land that I feel like any production team would have cut.
Yeah, it is what makes you think that Nick and Vanessa have more say than maybe they should. Like, there's
right.
no.
When she was like, when Vanessa goes like, "All right, let's wrap it up," after like the Ramses comedy condom discussion, it was just like so ill-timed. It was so not funny, and she thought it was like hysterical. It was just like so many moments like that.
Right. No,
I'm
I'm with you. It's hard. I'm always going to compare it to the reunions that happen with The Bachelor. The Bachelor reunions, they really do. It's overdone almost. Like, you have a montage of like, how did we get here? And you kind of realize you're like, we kind of need that more than I need Nick and Vanessa. Like, hint, hint, innuendo. Like, and Nick and Vanessa, and here's the other overlying theme that I noticed with this reunion is they acknowledge the internet way too much. I think this show lives in fear of a commenter in a way that, like, it's almost ruining the experience. Like, we'll start with Nick and Vanessa. You can tell
it's a great point.
They're trying to be, like, funny and likable because they've heard about how unlikable they are. And, like, I wrote down a note. I was like, there is no road for Nick and Vanessa to be liked by me. Like, they could make the best joke of all time, and it's the hole they've dug is too big, but you can sense from them that they've heard the backlash, and it's almost like, them trying to come back. Even when they try to be likable, I'm like, it's because you heard we hate you.
It makes it worse.
It makes it worse.
I would almost appreciate if they dug into like how awful they are. Like maybe like made a joke about how they're not good at this. That would like feel refreshing and like kind of nice.
Absolutely, and that's why it feels
they
like
would never do that.
They would never do that. It feels like they're like almost producers, because like it feels like there's no one that's like a CEO of this show. It feels like it's almost like by committee. So it almost gets worse and worse as it goes. Like, I'm like even surprised that they went in the right order. Like
No, I agree. And also like, but like, whose idea was it to show like a full 90 seconds of Jessica from seasons 1 wedding footage to a man that no one has even seen before or met before?
Right, and it almost had more production value than any montage catch-up they would give us of any of the other couples. Like, we got zero catch-up on the couples we want to get catch-up on. We got, like, it would have been nice for them to show the arguments that they're talking about before we get into it. Like, it would have been nice to, like, hey, now we're going to go to, Ramses and Marissa, and here's the final argument, like a snippet. And, okay, now it's easier to, like, go, hey, Marissa, what were you feeling there? Why was it so difficult? How does it feel to watch that now? Like, and I even wrote down, like,
should we start with them?
Well, I think we should start with, even to get it out of the way even more. They start the show with Tyler and Ashley, the successful couples they start with.
Yes.
Garrett and Olivia Munn. Like,
Garrett and Taylor, no notes at all.
Nothing done.
Complete blah. Absolutely fine.
They
Whatever.
get through them. Then they go to Tyler and Ashley, where you're like, okay, here we go. We're going to get into it. And I thought it was interesting. Again, the theme to me was this like over acknowledgement of the internet. They basically, Tyler and Ashley basically came at it. They basically go back at the internet. They go, you're all wrong. You don't know our experience. We love each other. Get out of our house. Get off our lawn, which I appreciate a little bit. I don't know how you felt about that. Like, we didn't even get the story's just untold.
Well, because she was like cool with it,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like they didn't need, you know what I mean? They didn't need to go there because they were both just kind of like, we're not really going to like, she's like, I believe him. This is his version of the events. And I don't think I actually thought they handled that well in that like they went in fully supportive of one another. She was like, there was more. I knew there was more to the story. Like I knew he was like we were both lying to the camera. Exactly like what you said, like sort of, they're doing their own production because Love Is Blind doesn't do production well, so they're basically doing their own production of themselves on the show, which was smart. And I thought when she was right to an extent, or they were right to an extent when they were like, there's more that went into it. It got very messy. Like I didn't tell the cameras the truth, but I told her the truth, and so like I don't really give a fuck what you think.
And her saying and her response, which was very powerful, is like, and honestly, this turns into the people, the people versus Alex and the people versus Ashley and Tyler. Like, this turns into like a court case of internet commenters, TikTokers versus the couple, because she even says, you're insulting my intelligence by saying that I wouldn't have any opinion on that or ask further questions. And she's right. But I'm almost like angry that we're giving internet commenters this much power. But it seems as though they are the producers of this show, the internet commenters. Like, they are, because then we get to Ramses and Marissa. So we'll move on from Happy Land. Ramses and Marissa, she is just she's immediately overtaken by emotion. They ask her about it. She's crying. We kind of see the same Marissa that we saw during the breakup. And Ramses went all in on his outfit. That outfit, he cut
the locks.
He cut the love locks, but
yeah.
I mean,
he wore like gloves.
He wore gloves that were lacy. Gloves. I mean, Ramses is gonna Ramses, and he looked like a sergeant in Prince's army.
I actually kind of thought he looked kind of hot. Like I was kind of into it. Besides the gloves were weird, but I don't know.
Ramses has a way over women. This is not a surprise. This is not like you're not alone. Ramses, women are, again, he takes a style chance. He has taste. He has having style is having confidence. Like when I wear a black t-shirt and jeans, that's me having no opinion. I have no confidence. I have no style. Like to have style, you have to have a creative vision, and you go with it. And he does. He takes risks. I get credit where credit's due.
There's, and I actually thought he handled. I think of anyone who was like gonna come in with shit against him, I thought he handled it the best. Like I thought I did think he redeemed himself, even though because he was basically like, listen, like I apologize. I should have done it earlier. I should have said stuff earlier. I wasn't right in this. I had these doubts, and then to me, they kind of like reiterated the whole conversation of the breakup. But I think it was like, here's the thing, like she deserves to be upset, and he could also have done the right thing. And even the terrifying mom was like, he did the right thing.
Well, the terrifying mom actually, I thought, made him look even better because
she was so crazy.
She tries to basically hammer him. Like she basically, the mom's goal was to make.
And he doesn't feed into it though.
No, not at all.
That's the best part. That's why. So I'm saying he knows he's has very calmly composed around someone that he could easily get worked up around.
Right, and he knew what he had to touch on. Like for the mom coming at him was her. You could feel it. It was like, I need you to hurt as much as my daughter hurt. And it kind of backfired for me because the mom is not a credible source, to gain this perspective from. But it was interesting that he was like, I got to touch on the condom thing. And he brings it up, and he he's like, there's more to this story. You know, obviously we worked out our own way. I know I looked like a brat. He covered that story as well as you could. And, you know, as we see later with some of these couple updates, she didn't have something that it's not like she had this extra piece of evidence for how much of a baby he was about the condoms. Like, it seemed as though she was like, I got nothing in the sheath to come back at him. Like, yeah, this is true. Like, you know, the condom thing was overblown, it seemed, even from her end.
That totally agree. I mean, I was never like a big fan of his. I thought he was like, I mean, we both kind of talked a lot of shit about him, but I do think if there was an award for person who like came to the reunion and then like dissolved any intensity around them, I think it was him.
Absolutely. And listen, intensity around him is never going to go away because of his thoughts on the military, and he's always going to be like, even the way people hate him online, I can tell, like, you've come here with other opinions on him,
right,
based on his own opinions and his perspective. So the next one we have is Hannah and Nick. This is where it really heated up, right? Because it was interesting to watch, again, because of the lack of production. They don't really give us like a jumping off point. It's basically starting with Vanessa questioning Hannah, like trying to egg Hannah on. It's like she was trying to get her to reveal, like, take off the mask and be the villain you are, the way Vanessa handled it. I thought
she was trying to get her to say, I'm sorry.
Yes, she was.
She was trying to pull an apology out of her. She was like, and did you feel anything about feeling bad about doing anything? And is there anything you want to say about maybe having a feeling that you felt bad about something? She was like trying to push an apology so badly. It was funny.
It was funny because I'm like, you can just say to her, hey, do you want to apologize to Nick? That's like a question that would be totally okay to ask as a host of this show. And I couldn't understand why she was like beating around the bush.
She's not a good host.
Nick Lachey at one point gets tired of all the questioning of like, get her to say, I'm sorry. And then he looks at AD in the crowd and he goes, AD, what are we doing here? And she's like, 10 toes dug in. And I'm like, are you really going to like a contestant in the crowd to get the questions asked that we need asked?
Exactly. We have limited time. You're including this in the edit. Who is editing this reunion? Like, who is editing it? Like, it's crazy.
But it is funny to watch Hannah. At one point, she's leaning on this "I'm very direct" thing, which is what assholes say.
She won't. Here's the thing, and she thinks that's the move. The move is to just like, even if she didn't mean it, to do. She and Nick have completely opposite approaches to trying to be likable, trying to get more Instagram followers, which is again made entirely clear that was the only reason they both made it so far. I mean, a little more clarity on him than her, but like clearly they both didn't like each other the entire time, and you can now that you get like the behind the scenes shit talking, you can tell that, like, they both hated each other. We were right all along, and all this stuff. But his thing, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to be really likable. I'm just gonna like apologize and tell her that like her opinion, like I respect her opinion. Hannah, you're entitled to feel however you want. Nothing but respect for you." But when it was funny though when they kind of all reveal all the shit he was saying behind her back, you do get a different side of him. So I thought he was like my most changed view on someone in the cast from the reunion.
Right. It is interesting. I still it doesn't redeem. It is funny. Like, I guess, like, you're right, because they took two opposite.
Hannah still sucks.
She still sucks. They took the opposite approaches is definitely true, because what it seemed to be based on the information we got, and the information we got is that he got the reveal, and then they're separated at the reveal, and apparently they take different flights to Cabo, because he's going on the flight and telling everyone that she's a grenade. Shocker of the century is that Grenade makes a comeback from Jersey Shore times. I haven't heard that in forever.
Mike's been packing, and as soon as he heard that, he was like, "That guy would say that."
Right.
Like,
he's the most
he's like, I believe that. I believe that guy used that word.
He is. Yeah. He is the mascot for douche. Nick. Yes. Nick Dorka, and. So the rumor becomes the women are saying that he said that she was a 5 and that she was a grenade, and he was let down by her looks, and like it does make.
And Steven was like, "Yeah, he definitely said that."
Steven, who looks ridiculous from minute 1 to the end. Steven is like a Sesame
Like, if
Street
I'm going
character.
down, I'm taking you all with me.
We're all going down. And then finally Ramses like backs up the claim that this all happened. And then even
That's
Nick,
why I thought
goes,
he was great on this. He was great on the reunion. He was like,
right.
listen, like, just say it.
Right.
Because, like, everyone already knows.
It's already over. Like, and Nick Dorka, when he finally admits it, it's like it's too late. Because if Nick had come out, because here's how their relationship seemed to play out now that we know most of the information, or as much as we're going to get. It seems as though he said something about her looks. She felt that. Then he went into total blank canvas mode. I'm just going to be a punching bag
as far
until
as I can.
Right. And I'm going to be a punching bag for you until I can get out of here. She is like trying to make this happen and get something out of him. So then she goes into total asshole mode. So it's like, it's oil and water. It's like
they're having a standoff, like in their own. Again, they're producing their own show, where they're having their own emotional standoff to see who can come out looking better when they know they don't like each other.
Right.
And they have very different approaches to how they're going to do that.
And his is really good because on camera saying nothing is the best strategy. And,
I agree.
And that's
he looked like he was a punching bag, and he was like a victim.
Right. And people online, people online, they're accusing her of verbal abuse. And like, from what we saw, it did look like a version of that. I'm not going to accuse her of that, but I'm just saying, like, based on what we saw, you go, yeah, like, but it never made sense for her to be that mean to someone. That was an insecure person trying to get something out of someone that was telling her he loved her, but she was like, didn't even believe it, like.
Right. No, totally.
But it goes back to this whole thing of like, even while they tape this show, they are so knowing of this fourth wall element. And it's like, the only ones that can really come out of this unscathed are the people like Garrett and Taylor, who just like have no issues, or that are like liking each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if you aren't super obsessed with each other, or even if you are, I guess, like, because Tyler and is it Tyler and Ashley?
Yeah, Tyler and Ashley.
Tyler and Ashley, like, I do think really are very into each other, but still had to produce their own show because they have their own secrets and demons or whatever they have.
Right. I mean, the 90-day goal thing, and then the big reveal is that Nick Dorka had written down that his 90-day goal was to get in shape, sell 2 homes, and be the most famous guy ever on Love is Blind. And it's like, Nick Dorka is the loser we imagined him to be. Like, he is like, as far as like, so many people get the term basic thrown at them. I would say he is the most basic, like, just like Mike said, like, he would say grenade. He would definitely have the Tony, what's his name? Who's the motivational speaker?
Tony Robbins.
He'd be a Tony Robbins. I'll buy the starter pack, but not the expensive version of the Tony Robbins.
He's a sweet talker.
Thinks he's a sweet talker. He's just like, he is quintessential. I buy Viore off of an Instagram ad, DC bro. Like, I'm wearing a suit that I got from,
I do like Viore, but yes,
but I'm saying, like, it's all like. He is just, I wear, the stuff. I'm Bonobos wearing, Viore wearing.
I've got the formula down.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, I am, and I think I'm original, but I am unoriginal.
And I actually think he, like, lucked out that Hannah was such a fucking bitch to him.
I agree.
Like, if he was with someone that he didn't find attractive, that he wasn't into, that was, like, really into him and really nice to him, he would have had to end it. Or marry
at
her
the altar,
just so that he could get the Instagram followers.
Right, because he leans on the whole, like, I brought you to my parents. I live with you. I said I love you. I wouldn't say I love you 100 times if I didn't love you. It's like, I do think these guys, a lot of them are looking for their exit. And their best exit, and that's what
Right.
Nick got away with.
Yeah, and it was funny because like even when they were like she didn't even though I think that he came off so much worse than he did on the show at the reunion,
Mm-hmm.
like she wasn't able to bring that horrible side out of it. I think Marissa did a much better job of
Right.
making him look like an asshole, and like the rest of the women did than
Yeah.
Hannah did. Because if it was just the two of them yelling at each other, I would be like, you both suck, and Hannah's not really even explaining this well, and she doesn't like his point could be made that it was a 90-day goal and it didn't mean anything. Like she was horrible at like making us feel for her, but I thought Marissa did a better job.
Right. It took the community to rise up, because Hannah's just, even the way she was sitting, the smirk, I'm direct, she
did herself no favors.
Her unlikability was like, it's like, how bad is the other candidate that we're even sitting here? You know what I mean? Like, like.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and Marissa was like, yeah, Hannah is a fucking bitch. Like,
right.
She's mean to me. She's mean to everyone. I've told her that. But that's why I thought she made the most compelling point. She's like, listen, Hannah's an asshole. We can all acknowledge that.
Right.
But like, you have to admit what you have done.
Right.
She was just like, you need to admit what you have done. And I thought that she made such a compelling case for
right. You need to admit
him.
that you made an insecure person. You
triggered.
You triggered an insecure person to act out on in their worst way. Like the idea that you had nothing to do with this person just beating you up is like actually crazy.
Right. And that's the part that's like more angering than anything else. It's like, just take if he had done what Ramses did, which was to say, listen, like, yeah, I did say that. That was a really stupid, immature comment. I had no idea got back to you. I'm mortified the fact that like you had heard me say the dumbest thing I've ever said. I think he could have come out fine, but you're right. He admitted it too late when it was clear he had a gun to his head.
Right. So then we go to Nick, Hannah, and Katie, and we get a little bit of an explanation of like, that's where suddenly we have a production team. They show the Hannah and Nick in the kitchen moment, and then talking about Katie, and Katie gets to explain herself of like why, and Hannah gets to say, they haven't spoken, and this whole thing with Katie. I thought Katie came off like still flirting with Nick, like weirdly. I was like,
yeah,
is she still like into him?
I don't know why she's into him. He's like the worst character on the show.
And she's like
so
beautiful, and like she like looked like, I was like, who is that? I was like, is that Katie? She's got like a whole look. She's like a model. She's tall. And then she's like, no, I didn't say he was like good looking. I said Nick was hot
cute.
And like flirty and cute. And she kept going on and
I
on.
only
and
said
I'm like,
it twice. Yeah. Like, just shh.
Yeah, shut up, Katie.
She came on there to try to redeem herself because everyone is responding to their, like you said, everyone's responding to their own meanest Instagram DMs.
Right. And
that's
the whole show.
To report to their meanest Instagram DMs
Right.
and like plead their case to their meanest online trolls.
Right.
So she was there just to be like, wasn't trying to hook up with my friend's friend, like PSA.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to redeem my girl status. That's what I'm here for. So then we go to Leo and Brittany, which I am two things. I'm so happy Leo and Brittany were not out there the whole time. That's my first thing. When they came out together holding hands, my eyes couldn't stop rolling in my head. The idea that they are now besties, they are best friends forever. It felt like they had a production meeting on their own to go over how they were going to tell the world about Miami and how it went down. And to me, Leo,
better, yeah.
Leo is a grifter. Leo is a snake oil salesman of the highest caliber. Leo heard from the internet he was going to be a chameleon. He was going to agree with every joke that's been said about him. They talk about the Rolex. He is a great liar, which is why he was put in the position that he was to go so far with two different women. he is great at telling people what they want to hear, because this whole thing,
including the audience at the reunion.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
This guy said everything. It was too slick.
Free right thing, yeah.
He said it all the right things, and then they show Brittany and him being like, Brittany explaining the reveal in any way that isn't, I'm not into you, I'm not attracted to you, is crazy.
Right. To me, it was all code for like, I saw him. I wasn't really into him before. I saw him. I knew I wasn't really into him. We went to Miami. He paid for all the shit for me and my friend.
Right.
I still didn't want to have sex with him when we were there. And so we finished the trip. I let him continue to pay for everything.
Right.
Bought us a first class ticket back to DC. And then we decided we were going to be friends.
Leo's a professional liar, and Brittany's a professional hot chick. Like, they're almost made for one another.
That's usually how a lot of those couples work.
Right, because Brittany's saying, oh, we're best friends, and we talk about our dating lives to each other. When we watched Leo literally, like, salivate and go, oh, she's so hot. And it's like, you think he's, like, over that? You think he's, like, not, like, up to, like, hook up with you? You think, like, he just wants to be your friend? Like, no. He pays for the bottle service. He pays for the food. You guys call yourself friends. Brittany gets to say that she's a great person because she's nice to this nerd. And that's it.
That's such a great call on Leo. I totally agree now that you're saying it. And also, like, it's just funny because he tried to do the same thing in the pods.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then he did the same thing again, but this time it kind of like worked better.
Right. Well,
because he had behind the scenes got everyone aligned.
Right. And we're the ones he's trying to woo. We're now Brittany and Hannah, because here's the other thing. They show their pictures from Miami, and it's him with the watch and her with the ring, and we're all supposed to laugh, but it's like, dude, you came on here and said, I guess I realized I talk about my money too much. You didn't know about the watch thing when you were in Miami. You didn't know that was a big punchline and a joke. So how do you have a picture of you with your watch and her with the ring? You didn't take that until you heard from the internet. You're not that smart. Yeah. You're not that funny. I hated them.
Leo took his millions and he hired a crisis PR person, I bet, to give him a bit of coaching through this reunion, and he got his money's worth. I think he can leave to people not as wise as you and I,
right,
unscathed.
So then we go to Steven and Monica. This was weird, and I knew it was going to be weird.
She seems more angry at him now than when she was at like the end of the show when she said they had talked.
Monica, her whole online persona has been off-putting, and I don't know why it hits me in a certain way, because I don't know what else there is to say. This guy Steven, you really the fact that you were into him is kind of wild anyways. Even of all people, Vanessa Lachey is do you think you had rose-colored glasses when he tells you that he's cheated on people, and you say, oh, that you're okay hearing that from him? Did it feel
She's I appreciated the honesty.
Right. And it's Vanessa's question was actually a first for her, a good one, where she's like, do you think you were just trying to get married? And
right.
And Monica kind of has that vibe of it feels like she feels embarrassed that this fell apart for her.
I agree. I think it was less about the betrayal of Steven, who I don't really know if she even liked that much, and more about he embarrassed her. Mm-hmm. That is embarrassing. I validate that. I think that's where most of her anger is coming from. You embarrassed me on national television, and and I get it's funny because his whole monologue, which again I don't think was the route to go, being I said I'm sorry, I fucked up, I'm in therapy. What I've hit all the internet talking points for something someone should say that someone who did this kind of thing should do. I never spoke to her again. I stopped myself from doing he's just you know what I mean? He's he's just rolling off the the checklist of self-flagellation from the internet.
Him and Leo are professional liars, both of them. It seems as though Steven's a sex addict, because when he says none of you are going to believe me and then tells you what you're not going to believe, that is all trickery. It's all, and you're right, it's all the stuff the internet's called him out on. He came prepared. He had his villain Joker speech ready where he's like, you guys aren't, no one cares about me. I'm a loser.
Why explain?
Right.
Yeah.
Why would even, we wouldn't be here in the first place if we were going to really care about us. Like he tries to show us the mirror. It was as if the Joker was giving a speech to Batman about how we're alike
Right.
and you're just like me. And it's like,
And I think
Steven, get
that's
out
why
of here.
Monica was annoyed too.
Right.
Because she was
That's
like,
fair.
and you wrote me the note, and I knew you were, that was gonna be the first thing you said.
Right.
And it was.
Mhm.
So like I could see why she's annoyed, because she gets it. She gets what he's doing, and it's like
Right.
even more annoying than whatever he was doing before.
Right. And like some woman, I think she was a former contestant, like yells out, "What's in the text?" And it's like, what do you want him to say? Like I do like like him.
What fetishes?
What are the
What's the
fetishes? Like that's all anyone. I don't
want to know what he said.
I mean, just his look alone, like his like wide-eyed Cabbage Patch Kid look, like
They were definitely disgusting.
Everything about him is
Disgusting.
just so weird and like sexualized, and like it's just like enough.
Yeah.
Like
if he had come on there and said, "Listen, like to explain really quickly, I have a sex addiction. I cheat on everyone I'm with. I like cannot help myself. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm clearly still a work in progress.
Right.
I'm sorry I came on the show. Probably someone with my condition shouldn't be here."
Right.
I would have like respected that.
It's a respectable answer, but it seems like he went the other direction, which is I'm going to keep lying the way I always lie. And
tell you that I'm reformed and that was a mistake. And
right.
just,
I've read books. He even went back to the I read books thing that he did with his 23andMe explanation. So, yeah, that was bizarre. And then Alex and Tim, our last couple. I got to say, we've debated Alex and Tim and the who's right and who's wrong of it all. I after this entry from Alex and Tim, I've come back towards your side. I would say you are right. It seems as though Tim, it's a my way or the highway type of guy.
And that's what she says.
And she says that.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think they were a match from minute one. Like, I think from the minute they came out of at the reveal and he's barking at her and she's like getting annoyed with the barking joke.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a looks thing. It was like I don't know how they connected.
Thing.
Yeah, I don't know how they connected in the pods in the first place.
Yeah. I think that they like had this kind of like, I think they did what a lot of people do is mistake having one really similar thing in common or one value in common that you feel really strongly about and assume that that's going to make up for everything else. Like they both, like if you think about the families, they both kind of like had sort of like a traumatic story with their families and like felt like they felt understood in that capacity. Something about the families. And I think because of that, they felt like connected based on that, but really ignoring the fact that that was the only thing that they actually had in common.
I think you're right, because that became apparent with their discussion. It's like nothing, they couldn't agree on anything. They even were like, we're going to clear up that no abuse happened behind closed doors, because obviously there was a commenter that like accused them of doing
or
that.
Hitting him or something.
Right. Yeah. And they were like, I just want to attest that never happened. And then they get into like, and the producers had to come in because you were shouting. And it's like, okay, we're now back to the thing you just cleared up. That like.
Right. And she called him a little bitch or something. And like, he like it was like, he's clearly like easily offended. Mm-hmm. A little sensitive, and I guess guys seem to have an aversion to saying that they're sensitive. He's a very sensitive guy. He's not saying that, but he's a very sensitive guy.
Right, I agree. He's sensitive in the like, I have these rigid set of how a man and a woman should be, and the roles we should have, but
even to feeling slighted, like I feel like he is very sensitive to feeling rejected or slighted or disrespected.
I think that's where I think that you're right. The disrespect thing is like, once you go outside of the lines that I've drawn, that's disrespected me, and I am like, challenged and ego and hurt. Like I set these lines out. How could you cross them? You said you're my wife. You know what I mean? Like I think that's like he's so rigid with these lines that he's personally offended, and that's where the sensitivity showed. Like it's like this he's like he's made like his feelings mathematical. You cross this one line and it is like nothing I've ever seen.
Totally. And the context behind their fights, I think, was very important. I don't understand why they couldn't have just had confessionals where they explained that context on the actual show.
Right.
You know,
I mean,
where
they
she
hate
was
production.
like talking about having the bartending job,
Right.
And like that gives it. Don't you think that gave it more she's working 2 jobs. She's like she's on a 12-hour day.
Absolutely. And they went out 2 nights before and got drunk together. It sounded like, and then he tried to put it on her going clubbing. It's like, no, it sounds like you guys were like living a like a life, and like the parents came and she was tired and I didn't even know she was a bartender. Like I had no idea.
Right, which is like funny because they're the only people who were like doing a full-time job while they're on a TV show and doing sleep tests and doing all this other shit. But like that's fine, that's great, that adds to the show. But like add a fucking confessional that you tape after to explain what the fight was about, so we can all know what's going on.
Absolutely. So we get done with Tim and Alex, and then we get like they basically go back into Taylor and Garrett and talk to the parents, and we have the weird check-in with season 1 woman and her wedding, and that's our reunion. What are your overall takeaways?
Overall, solid season, I think. I think the show is great because you do get a lot of these like true, real relationship dynamics, and it's all about like kind of like the nuances of these fights and these relationship dynamics and all that stuff. I think some opinions were changed for me in the reunion.
I'm with you.
Yeah. It was good in that capacity.
Good reunion. I wish it was tightened up. I wish they got a producer from The Bachelor to work on it. I would say overall, just they have to figure out how to make it so these couples don't turtle the minute that they're done with the relationship, because it seems like there's...
What do you mean turtle? What is that?
Like just like go into their shells and
wait to be broken up with?
Right, because what seems to... I think the acknowledgement, and again, these people, a lot of them are younger than me, and they have grown up with internet hate, and every single couple responded to internet. Every single couple, like to feedback they got from the internet. And I could sense that from like the show. Like I think Nick did this. I think the last season, what's his name, with Chelsea, the guy,
Jimmy.
Jimmy, I think did that too last season, where he just turned off because he knew the internet hate was going to come from him if he said anything. I just think there needs to be a different ending to this show. I think like ringing a bell and like I want out would be like a good way to end. like if there was just a bell they could ring to be like, yeah, like I want to leave, and then we can start the breakup process. I don't know. The acknowledgement of the internet on the show, on the reunion, it feels like that is the other castmate on the show, is the internet commenter, which
and it's
annoys
the one
me.
they fear most.
Right. That's the only person they fear, is internet commenter.
Right.
Okay, so that's our recap. Did you learn anything from this season, Jordana?
I don't think so. I mean, did you learn anything?
Like, no, I think the experiment, what's interesting is called Love is Blind, and it's meant to be like, will people love each other without knowing each other's looks? And I actually think this show should be called Love is Blind, because it's, will people know how bad they come off to the audience after it's done taping? Because that's what they're really blind to. They're blind to, and you saw it with Hannah. Hannah got feedback, and everyone's hating on her, and she can't understand it. I'm direct. And you have Nick Dorca, who's turning off and turning into a AI robot so that he doesn't have any opinions or feelings at all, because he's not sure how he's going to be perceived. And I just think the blindness that they have is not towards each other, and it's more towards, what is the country going to say about me? Like,
they don't know how they're perceived. They're lacking. They're blind of their own self-awareness.
Right.
Right.
So that is my lesson learned from this show. But I don't think the experiment matters. Like, I think people want to be with someone they're attracted to. I do think the experiment works in getting to know each other, but I thought it did. But then you have Alex and Tim, where like they seem to they're like the worst match I've ever seen.
So I think Nick and Hannah were like, I couldn't find two people who I felt less chemistry with, who I felt like hated each other more than them. There was not 1 second where I was like, not one moment of the entire series where I was like, this feels like a real couple.
Right. So would you say getting one marriage a season is a success for this show? I
think so.
Right.
Because we don't really want 6 marriages. We want drama. We want these fights, because that's kind of where the fun lies.
Right. And we got 2 marriages that seem like, we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, I think 2 is where we cap out.
Right.
Any more than 2 and it's a boring season. So
totally agree. Jordana, favorite moment of the season, first thing that pops to your head, what's your favorite moment?
Nick Dorka's tour of his parents' basement and him just saying how great it was to live in your parents' basement with absolutely no shame. I enjoyed that. That was a highlight for me. What about you?
It's Brittany and Leo getting revealed to one another. Her doing the mental math on, okay, how do I save face? I'm never going to marry this guy. And then coming back to the reunion and saying they're friends, and him just accepting his friend zone status. I think Brittany achieving black belt level hot girl status.
Yes. She met a master manipulator with her own master manipulation.
Right.
Impressive.
Very impressive.
So overall, great season. Guys, if you have thoughts, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, leave them in the YouTube comments. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, you can leave a review. We want to know what you guys think. DM the Instagram story. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you want us to do more of these, more seasons.
Or other shows. This has been a lot of fun. We always dread it, and then we do it, and it ends up being like all we talk about. So it is definitely fun.
And just so you guys know, if you're a benefit subscriber, you can watch this on YouTube, or you can listen to it on the feed, on the podcast feed. And if you are a regular listener, you can watch it on YouTube. Again, this doesn't replace any of our regular bonus content. This is just extra.
In addition to everything else we do, we've put this out for free. So why would we do that? We want you to subscribe. We want you to comment. We want you to like, because we want to find more awesome people like you who enjoy the same things as you, that like this podcast and this show. So this is not taking away from anything else you are signed up for. So
the U Up podcast is produced by Belle Roman and Candace Maniga. Edited by Belle Roman. Social media by Candace Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. VP of podcast is Chris Allen. And be sure to follow U Up at u.up.podcast.